I think so. Colleen, I can hear you. Yeah. So, okay, so basically, this is what we're gonna do. This is Malin's. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to show you this lesson, guys. So I don't know exactly where she got this. Where you got the references, Malin? Okay. So the good news, remember how I was showing you like dresses that are in white or that kind of thing, like something in solid? This is a good way of adding drama to your collection without doing with doing less, correct? So that's one thing. And there you go. And imagine if you add this into your portfolio. Exactly. So it's a matter of looking for the right image already. And if you just do it black and white, this will be an amazing adding for your portfolios to show where it wants to go. Okay, that's one way. Then I'm gonna show you what I mean by that in a bit. Okay, so this is the repeat that Maylene is showing me. You can see the repeat from here to here. You can see it, correct? But when it's a large scale, it's not as noticeable. It's all about scale too and about what you're doing. So this is also filled in. She changed the scale because it's a top. The scale from a dress to a top is different. Because this, since it's a dress, sometimes tiny, tiny, tiny prints doesn't look good. It just looks muddy. So therefore, you might go into bigger scale. That's one way. Hey, Bensi. She is Real Housewives of Miami. That's what she looks like. That's what she looks like. She's about to have a mojito. And that kind of thing. That's where she looks like she's living. I do like where this is going. I appreciate that you try to shadow her a little bit based on the little palm here. That's good job. And then changing the colors also. Yeah, this is Maria Sofia. I can see they changed the colors of both the denim a little bit and to go with the teal top. Now, this is Maria Sofia too. I don't know. Okay, so we have some issues with this one because she did ask me how can I fix it. So there's one way to fix it. This is a PDF file. Let me check if I can open it in Photoshop. You can have a PDF file that's also that has all the layers in Photoshop as well. You're just gonna make it. There is that option. It says if it's PSD compatible, but not all the time is it really. Just be careful with that because when it happens with, let's just say you want to send that PDF as an email, it is not gonna work for you. It's gonna be really hard. So you see how it has those little white sections right here, right? Okay. So she left. This is a PDF file that she sent me, but it's a PDF file that I can open in PSD with all the layers. Okay, yes, FYI. So right now, looking at this, as soon as I click on it and zoom in, you see how it's a little crooked? So what happens is if you select the entire print a little crooked too, it's gonna fill in those gaps with white. That's what happened. So how do we do this? We have to straighten it out. Something must have happened when you were moving it, Sophia, and I think sometimes when you don't lock it in, it just gets crooked by itself. So the way that we do it is, let's do Command R for our rulers on top, or Control R. You see my rulers here? On top, look. You can see a toggle. You click and you drag to see a line. Okay. I can see that is gonna guide me to make this straight. I'm gonna move it with my controls, and even then it's not straight. If that's the case, it's not because I moved it. That means I need to make everything even the old school way. And that's by using my marquee with M and just chopping it off a little bit. This is the quickest way to do it. I'm not saying it's the way. You can try it. If you don't want to cut away some things, that's fine. But will be the quickest way to do it. Our class. Something must have happened, and I can see it. You can see where the marquee is chopping it off. You see that right in this section? This corner I can see is not together, and that's what happened. Photoshop is filling in those blanks. So then what you're gonna do is just gonna cut it away with your marquee, because as soon you see it's not straight, you can see it. So then once you do that, you select it and you just press delete. Then what you're gonna do is you can select your print and you can go edit, edit, define pattern, done. Okay. Oh no, it's not doing it correctly. You know why? Because it wants to do the whole layer. And how do I know that? It's because when you select the print, let me show you how I know that's what happened. You notice the preview has the little squares? That means it's glitching. My print should only be the print. That should only be my preview, not with the little squares. So that means I really need to select this correctly. And we discussed this with the one in the background. You can see already with the little dashes, selection dashes. And then you can Shift Command I to reverse your selection. And ta-da, you already have perfectly. Then what you're gonna do is, once again, go to Fill. No, sorry, not Fill. Define Pattern. And you see the difference on my preview now. That's how you know if you're selected the correct one. No, nothing in the background. It's just the parameters, just the outside edge. So you put OK. You go back to, she put everything in layers, thank you. And you know what? And she even put this one. So I'm just gonna take the parameters of this dress and just inverse it and fill it in. Fill it in, and I'm gonna choose pattern, drop down, click on this one, on the one that is correct, and done. There's no more white, correct? Now, since that's the case, I think you guys noticed something in this print though. I want this line to be in the middle, correct? Okay, I'm gonna show you how to do it. If I wanted that line in the middle, the best way is to go to, I'm gonna do this really quickly. I'm gonna go into Illustrator. Because with Photoshop, it gets a little weird out with prints, and we need to like try, or the other way. I'm gonna show you another way for Photoshop. I am just gonna select, I'm gonna fill the entire page. Oh, sorry, let me make a new layer. I'm gonna fill the entire page with that print. I'm gonna move this to where I'm supposed to go, right? Actually, I need more than that. Hold on a second. Because even if I were to, let's just say I select this section to be filled in, Photoshop is gonna continue the pattern. You notice that? Automatically will continue the pattern if you just move it to the side and decide to fill it in. I say this because I want to fill in the dress now, right on the middle. I can do this. I can put in the middle when I put multiply. Go to my dress, select the outside edge of my dress, and just delete the rest. Done. That's one way to do it in Photoshop, okay? So we have learned all these tools. We have learned how to erase the backgrounds already. We have learned how to fill things in. It's just putting everything together now. The ways that I'm showing you is the ways that usually most people know. There's many different ways to go about things. Don't be afraid to explore. Also, YouTube videos help too, because the thing is, we might do the fashion design way, but there's also graphic design ways that could be shorter or more. It just helps you edit even more. The other way is, let's just say we're in Illustrator here, and I'm gonna do this really quickly. I'm just gonna copy and paste my sketch. There you go. That's what you do. Control Alt is Command A or Control A. Copy is Control C. It's the same way that you will do in your keyboards. Those are the hotkeys. Control V, as in Victor, is to paste, correct? So now I have this little dress, and I'm just going to lock this so I can just draw really quickly. You will have to draw exactly the parameter a little too quickly. I'm just gonna do the top, I'm not gonna do the whole thing. Let's just believe that I'm doing it really fast, which I am. And I'm just doing this with my pen tool. Okay, so there you go. And now I wanna use my print. So Sophia gave me the repeat. I'm gonna select it again. I'm gonna select again, and then I'm gonna copy, and I'm gonna paste it. You notice it's pasted, and there's no X mark. Remember how we discussed, if there's an X mark, it's linked, correct? Linking makes it really hard for you to change editing, meaning drop shadows, adding more, if you wanna add filters to it, all these things. So as a reminder, we're gonna do a mask. So if I have this right here, I'm gonna, remember, I do my outline needs to be on top of my print. So I'm gonna change this to arrange to the front. I'm gonna select my print and my top only. I'm gonna control key or right click and put make a clipping mask. Done. And I can, with my direct selection tool, I can just click on the print at the, that I have inside. Exactly. We did this last week. I did show it to you. You can even double click it to really see what's in your mask. And you can click and go into multiply. Done. And you can even do it so that most people use Illustrator because guess what? I don't need to work in layers. I just need to put the shape and I can dictate what section of a print can be in the top, one section in the print that I want in the skirt. It's a little quicker with that. But when I want to distort the print, for example, I'm going to show you different ways today to make your homework pretty cool. If I want to distort more things, for example, I want to make the skirt, this part, I want to make that skirt look like a circle skirt. Anyone who's going to fashion design, that means that your lines are gonna go into your waist, correct? Because you're cutting. It's not your stripes are not gonna go straight all the time. It's gonna go into your waist. So how do we do that? I'm just gonna create another layer. Look at me creating another layer. I'm just gonna fill it in again. And what I am going to do is I'm gonna do Command T, which is free transform. We have done free transform so much. We have warped. And we control and we put warp. And we just, look, we just bring it in. That gives more movement now, correct? And we can even make her go into the center. We can warp it. We cannot do that in Illustrator because they don't work in pixels. Remember that, guys? They do not work in pixels. We can warp easily in Photoshop, not Illustrator. It's more tedious, especially because it's not a bitmap. You understand now when to use. Now, if I want to warp it like this, it's easier for me to do in Photoshop. If I don't necessarily care about the placement, I can just do this. It's fine. That's fine. So now, I'm gonna erase the rest. Click on the outside of my dress from that layer, and that's it. And just match my, of course, I'll be neater about this if I was doing a presentation, but there you go, done. Now it looks like it's coming to the waist, going out, like a circle skirt, correct? So that's one way, okay? Okay. So I wanted to see certain homeworks for that reason. Oh, this is really good too. Kristen Moradel, yeah, good job. She put her print in a model, and that's the idea too. If you find the right model, look what she did. It was white. She isolated it the same way that we did. She most likely found a picture that had a dress that was very contrasting to the skin tone, correct? And that way, it was easier to pick, make it black and white, and put her print on top. Done. This will be a really good asset for her portfolio or any presentations that she might have, because sometimes people are very visual. As much as you want to do AI, it's really hard to do AI, like the way that you want. But I did find a website that I'm going to show you guys. All right, so this is great. Thank you, thank you. And this, Colleen, this is good. We can also add shadows now. I'm going to show you how we add shadows in Photoshop. If we merge all of our layers together, all of our layers, which is Shift Command E, Shift Command E, or there you go. Or okay, look at the difference. Shift Command E makes everything to one layer, which some of you already know. Okay, be careful with that tip, because let's just say a reminder. If once you use Photoshop, it only goes back 30 steps, correct? So let's just say I did all of these modifications and yet I have to go back into the file and change something else from the beginning, then no bueno. You need to then always, rule of thumb is make copies of your layers before you merge them, always. Now you can merge those. Why? Because you don't have to see all your layers at once. That's why you make them invisible, correct? That's it. Now, I'm going to introduce a new tool. Right here, there is called a Dutch tool. And if you hover and press Burn tool, and the one above is Blur, Sharpen, Smudge tool. We don't need those right now, but I'll tell you for what I need them usually. So we're going to do Dutch. If we, let's just say you can also put this picture in Lightroom and do it like I show you with the little brushes and things. But if you want to do it in Photoshop, it's a little bit more tricky. All at once you have the merge layer, look what happens. It's getting lighter, correct? Let me do this. Oh? No, but maybe because of my screen. But then you see shadows. If you click on your midtones, no, nothing. Then you click on your highlights. Ah, there you go. Yeah, you see that? Just a little bit. So you have to see what colors you have. Sometimes with warm tones, you might have more highlights than midtones, but you have to change it. So then what happens if I want to make it shadowy? But the one way, some people are like, oh, but don't you put black maybe and then multiply the layer? You could do that. You can multiply the layer by drawing black or white. But the problem with that, it makes the colors really muddy sometimes. So I think everyone has noticed that too. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna Burn tool. The Burn tool is not shadows, let's go to midtones. You see, naturally, done. You saw that? There you go, done. Yeah, and you just did it. And everything is like, it kept most of the color stories. And you can choose the exposure. Exposure means how strong you want it. That's basically what that means, and you can play with it. So if you want to have a little more shadow, more contrast in your neckline really quickly, there you go. Done. Okay? So now this looks more like a mannequin. Just a little bit of more contrast helps. Okay? Okay, perfect. Now, same thing with this one. If this one was here, I'm going to show you really quickly. This is really light, but let's just put more contrast. Remember, we just copy the layers and we merge it. Let's effect. Very, very little. And that's it. Compared to what it was before, it gives you more of a, it gives more of that depth. Look, before, after. It's a bit of a depth. You have to understand, you're trying to make everything jump out of the page. Just think of it that way. Okay? Same thing with the skirt. I think, Aliana, the only issue I think with this one was, I don't think I have the layers here. If there's a dress underneath this, I'm pretty sure it's the same pixels. Yeah, it is. Haha. I think what happened, this would work if you decide to do multiply. You see the difference now? I can see some of the dress. Or you can check for the layer that matches best. What is a layer effect? Oh, this one looks better. Correct? The pin light. Or sometimes, I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes making everything white might not help you so much with the colors that you have it. So if that's the case, you can do Command I. Look at my dress, it became black. Command I, and anything makes the reverse color story, the opposite color story of everything that you're working on. So magenta, the reverse is cyan or green. That's a really quick way of just changing a colorway. I didn't show you this when you were doing Prints because, you know, I needed you to work it, okay? But now we know that easily, second colorway. If you really want to see a super contrast between cool and warm tone and cool tones, okay? So let's just put that black dress on the bottom and let's see how it looks better. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. No, it's not doing anything, but that's okay. Oh, hold on, it's because I didn't put it on, haha. It was invisible. But you see that it's a little bit giving me more shadows. It's a little more interesting. I can see the seams a little bit more. You get what I'm going at. Just because you have a white background might not really merge with the colors on top because it's too bright. So I think the best one would be the pin light. And we take that black layer dress and let's just make it less. By the way, these bottom ones are just your scale. Either you make it more black or more white, washed out. So for example, look at here, done. You see the difference? This looks a lot better now. I can see the seams. You understand that? So it's all about color and how to, because you have to understand color theory in a different level now. When you guys were explaining color theory, it's like red, blue, yellow. Correct? Now, in screens it's CMYK. You can display RGB, but now you have to understand digitally, you can do more color information. How does it react? So you need to understand that a little bit more, and this looks better. Same thing, I can actually merge everything together, and I can add more shadow really easily, really quickly, and not only that, I can go back, I can use Dodge tool, and oh, that doesn't work, it's highlights, maybe it's midtones for me. There you go, midtones is working a little better. Or we go into highlights again, and no. Let's do shadows, maybe shadows, yeah, no, but that's okay. So I want you to start looking at things. If anything out of this class you're gonna take, it's just trying to figure out other ways to work with files, because most of the work that you're gonna have is not gonna be files that you start from scratch yourself. You're gonna have files that other people started them. And what's the best way for you to go about finishing, but struggling less? Most people don't know how to build a file correctly, and you're gonna find that the hard way. Most people don't. Okay. And I think that was all I wanted to review with you. Oh no, so this is actually JJ. Good job, JJ. You notice what I mean here? He did a really good job on putting the fur. The same way that you take out this white line on registering is cutting it away with the crop tool in Illustrator, which we're all familiar with, and then we place it as a print. That's the only way. It gets a little annoying with Illustrator. It's not as good with certain things, especially with images, but you know what? It's okay. Okay, so I feel like I'm missing one. Okay.